Assalamu alaikum. This is Prapunti Chakraborty welcoming you to the English news from Btv-Chattogram. Let's begin with the headlines. Chief Advisor Professor Muhammad Yunus and leaders of different political parties sign July National Charter. Massive fire at factory in Chattogram Export Processing Zone brought under control. 2 committees formed to investigate the incident. Israel and Hamas accuse each other of violating ceasefire agreement. And trophy of 3-match ODI series between Bangladesh and West Indies unveiled at historic Lalbagh Fort in the capital. Viewers, those were the headlines. Now moving on to the details. Chief Advisor and Chairman of National Consensus Commission Professor Dr. Muhammad Yunus, members of the Commission and leaders of different political parties signed the July National Charter at South Plaza of the Jatiyo Shongshad Bhavan this afternoon. Commission's Vice Chairman Ali Riaz and members of the Commission also signed the Charter. Bangladesh Nationalist Party BNP Secretary General Mirza Fakhrul Islam Alamgir and National Standing Committee member Salahuddin Ahmed, Bangladesh Jamaat-e-Islami Nayab-e-Amir Dr. Syed Abdullah Muhammad Tahir and Secretary General Mia Ghulam Parwar, Amar Bangladesh Party Chairman Muhammad Mujibur Rahman Bhuya Monju and General Secretary Barrister Asaduzzaman Fuad, Ganosangoti Andolon Chief Coordinator Jonayat Saki and Executive Coordinator Abul Hassan Rubel and leaders of various parties signed on behalf of their respective political parties. Chief Advisor said New Bangladesh has emerged through signing of the July National Charter, which will guide the nation towards the rule of law and justice and prosperity by ending the long 16 years of brutality. The parliamentary election will be held in February next, he added. The Chief Advisor said they wanted to hold the next election with the tune of unity, which guided today's signing of the July National Charter.
সেটা দিয়ে আমার বাংলাদেশ পরিবর্তন হবে। এই পরিবর্তন সম্ভব হলো ওই গণ অভ্যুত্থানের কারণে, ছাত্র জনতার অভ্যুত্থানের কারণে। এটা হলো দ্বিতীয় অংশ। সেটা তারা করেছিল বলেই আজকে আমরা এই সুযোগ পেলাম। আমরা পুরনো কথাবার্তা সব পাল্টে ফেলে নতুন কথাগুলো আমাদের জীবনে নিয়ে আসলাম, আমাদের জাতীয় জীবনে নিয়ে আসলাম, আমাদের সংবিধানের পরিবর্তনের মধ্যে নিয়ে আসলাম, আমাদের অন্যান্য বিষয়ে সরকার চালানোর বিষয়ে নিয়ে আসলাম, অনেক বিষয় এসছে এই পরিবর্তনের ভেতরে। এই পরিবর্তন এখন আমাদের সামনের দিকে এগিয়ে নিয়ে যাবে। আমরা সেই পথে অগ্রসর হব। আমাদের জন্য আজকে নবজন্ম, আমাদের নবজন্ম হলো আজকে। এই স্বাক্ষরের মাধ্যমে আমরা নতুন বাংলাদেশের সূচনা করলাম। সেটা যেন সঠিকভাবে আমরা যেতে পারি, এটার জন্য আমরা আল্লাহর মেহেরবানি চাই, যাতে করে আমরা এটার থেকে বিচ্যুত না হই। আমরা একমত হয়েছি, এই একমত সুন্দরভাবে পরিচালনা করে সামনের দিকে নিয়ে যাওয়া কীভাবে আমাদের কাছে সম্ভব হয়। ঐক্যের সুর দিয়ে আমরা নির্বাচনের দিকে যাব। ফেব্রুয়ারিতে নির্বাচন হবে এবং এই ঐক্য যেন বজায় থাকে। আজকে ঐক্যমত্যে আমরা যেরকম সনদ করলাম, এই রাজনীতির ব্যাপারেও নির্বাচনের ব্যাপারেও আপনারা রাজনৈতিক নেতারা বসে, বিভিন্ন দলের নেতারা বসে একটা সনদ করেন কিভাবে নির্বাচন করবেন। যেমন তেমন করে নির্বাচন করলে তো আবার পুরনো জায়গায় ফিরে যাওয়া, কিছু করে লাভটা কি হলো? নিজেদের নির্বাচন নিজেরা করব আমরা, কারো কারো এসে আমাদেরকে সোজা করতে হবে না, আমাদেরকে দেখিয়ে দিতে হবে না, ধাক্কাধাক্কি করতে হবে না। আমরা কি জানি না নাকি কিভাবে নির্বাচন সুন্দরভাবে করতে হয়? সেটা যেন একটা উদাহরণ হয়, সেটা জাতির জন্য উদাহরণ, বিশ্বের জন্য একটা উদাহরণ হিসেবে আমরা সে নির্বাচনটা করতে চাই। আমরা ইনশাআল্লাহ পারবো। আজকে সেই পারার একটা চিহ্ন আমরা এখানে রেখে গেলাম। এই চিহ্নটা ধরে আমরা পথে অগ্রসর হব। আল্লাহ আমাদেরকে সেই সামর্থ্য দিক।
Two separate probe committees have been formed to investigate the devastating fire that broke out in a 7-story building inside the Chattogram Export Processing Zone area. Lieutenant Colonel Mohammed Tajul Islam Chaudhary, Director Operations and Maintenance of the Fire Service and Civil Defense, visited the site this afternoon and announced the formation of a 5-member committee to determine the origin and cause of the fire. The fire was finally brought under control this morning after nearly 17 hours of relentless efforts. Authorities later declared the building unsafe for reuse due to severe structural damage. A fire broke out in a 7-story building in CPZ around 2 p.m. yesterday, starting on the 7th floor where warehouses of Adams Caps and Textile Limited and Jihong Medical Products Company Limited were located. Approximately 25 units of the fire service and 4 units of the Bangladesh Navy collaborated to extinguish the fire. In the Raater University Central Students' Union Rakshu election, along with the Hall Union and Senate Student Representative polls, Mustaqur Rahman Zihad, the Vice President VP candidate from the Shomlito Shikhatri Jot panel, backed by Islami Chhatra Shibir, has been unofficially elected. He secured 12,687 votes. His nearest rival, Sheikh Nur Uddin Abir of the Oikobodh Notun Projonmo panel backed by the Chhatra Dal, received 3,397 votes. Meanwhile, in the General Secretary GS race, Salahuddin Ammar of the Adhipatya Birodhi Oikko panel won by a large margin, obtaining 11,497 votes. His closest contender, Fozde Rabbi Muhammad Fahim Reza, the GS candidate from the Shibir-backed panel, secured 5,727 votes. Ammar is a former coordinator of the anti-discrimination student movement, while Fahim Reza also previously served as a coordinator. In the third key post, Assistant General Secretary AGS SM Salman Shabbir from the Shibir-backed panel was elected with 6,975 panel's votes, defeating Jihan Bishwash Esha of the Chhatra Dal-backed panel, who received 5,951 votes. The results were announced at around 8 a.m. Friday by Chief Returning Officer Professor Satar Rahman, although the official declaration is yet to be made. A total of 247 candidates contested for 23 posts in Rakshu across 10 panels, while 597 candidates vied for 15 positions in 17 residential halls, and 58 candidates competed for 5 seats in the Senate student representative election. The country's largest children's art exhibition and award distribution ceremony was held at Chattogram Theatre Institute from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. today. National and international award-winning artist Shahwat Jahan presided over, while Chattogram City Corporation Mayor Dr. Shahadat Hussain inaugurated the program as the chief guest. Assistant Commissioner of Chattogram Metropolitan Police Kotwali Zone Mahfuzur Rahman, resident editor of Daily Amar Bangladesh Jahidul Karim Kochi, Doinik Azadi chief reporter Hassan Akbar, former chief medical officer of Chattogram Port Hospital Dr. Musharraf Hussain, headmistress of Chattogram Port Authority High School Mrs. Nur Nahar Begum, children's organizer Nurul Azim Hiru, former Deputy Chief Accounts of Bangladesh Railway Motiur Rahman Khokon, and Bureau Chief of Banglavision and President of TV Journalist Association Nasiruddin Tota were present as the special guest on the occasion. All the participating students were awarded at the program. Chattogram District Administration has organized a discussion meeting on the occasion of the death anniversary of philosopher and mystic poet Lalun Shah. The meeting has been held at District Shilpakala Academy in the city this evening. Chattogram Additional Deputy Commissioner General Muhammad Sharifuddin presided over, while Professor of Bengali Department of University of Chittagong, Dr. Sheikh Sadi, was present as the chief discussant on the occasion. Cultural Officer of District Shilpakala Academy, Syed Muhammad Ayaz Maruf, delivered the welcome address in the program. Highlighting the ideal and moral of Lalun Shah, the speakers emphasized on following them in enriching own lives. Now, international news. Israel and Hamas have accused each other of violating the ceasefire agreement. Tensions are rising as several bodies of Israel hostages remain in Hamas custody. Disputes also persist over the disarmament of Hamas and other armed groups in Gaza, as well as over who will form the new government there. Observers fear that these growing tensions and disagreements could lead to the collapse of the ceasefire. Since Monday, Hamas has handed over the bodies of 10 hostages to Israel. However, Israel claims that one of those bodies does not belong to a hostage. Hamas, on the other hand, insists that all recovered bodies have been returned. The military wing of Hamas said that heavy machinery is needed to recover the remaining bodies as they are trapped under the rubble. Excavation equipment will be equipped and required to retrieve them. On Thursday, a senior Hamas leader claimed that Israel has killed at least 24 Palestinians in Gaza since last Friday, thereby violating the ceasefire. He added that a list of Israel's ceasefire violations have been submitted to the mediators. The Hamas leader further alleged that the occupying state, Israel, is working day and night on the ground to undermine the agreement through repeated violations. The Israeli military has not issued any immediate comment on Hamas's allegations. United States President Donald Trump has warned that he would endorse attacks on Hamas, effectively breaking the ceasefire between Israel and the Palestinian group if it continues to target gangs and alleged Israeli collaborators in Gaza. If Hamas continues to kill people in Gaza, which was not the deal, he will have no choice but to go in and kill them, Trump wrote in a social media post on Thursday. In an interaction with reporters later, Trump qualified that threat to make clear that U.S. forces would not be entering Gaza. There are people very close, very nearby that will go in and they will do their tricks very easily, but under auspices, the U.S. President said in an apparent reference to Israel without naming the country. The threats against Hamas appear to signal an about-face from Trump, who earlier this week suggested that he was fine with the group's crackdown on gangs in the Palestinian territory. U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin held a long phone conversation on Thursday, which the U.S. president claims resulted in major progress, just as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was scheduled to arrive at the White House to lobby for U.S.-made Tomahawk missile supplies. Following the call, President Trump announced that he would meet with President Putin in the Hungarian capital of Budapest. This announcement comes one day before President Zelensky's scheduled meeting with the U.S. president at the White House on Friday. The announced meeting would be the second between the two leaders since President Trump began his second term in January. They previously met in Alaska last August, a meeting which, however, failed to achieve any breakthroughs in ending the war in Ukraine. Writing on his social media platform, Truth Social, President Trump stated that he and President Putin would meet in Budapest to see if they could end the dishonorable war between Russia and Ukraine. I believe great progress was made in today's telephone call, President Trump wrote. President Trump also confirmed that top U.S. and Russian officials, including U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, would hold preliminary meetings next week, though the location for these discussions has not been yet determined.